What if I told you that one of the best ways to grow a tomato is to grow two tomatoes and use the top of one with the bottom of the other? That's what we're doing in today's video, my friends, grafting tomatoes, something that is super exciting for me as a gardener. It's something I've done in the orchard. It's very common in the orchard, but it is less common in the vegetable garden unless you're a farmer. So I figured, why not bring it to us here at home? It's starting to get a little bit more popular. So let's first discuss what is grafting. Put very simply, it is when you are taking plant material from one plant, usually a related plant, it can't really do it if it's not, and putting it onto another plant. Where you see this in the wild, so to speak, is in the home orchard, where you can grow these fruit salad trees with multiple different types of stone fruit, where you can graft different citrus, or like I've done in my orchard, grafting different types of figs onto the same fig tree, but you can do it with tomatoes. The question is why? What I have in front of me here is the Fortamino tomato. Now, believe it or not, I don't care about anything you see coming out of the soil here. With the Fortamino tomato, I care about the rootstock. So basically everything below the soil and a little bit of this stem. Why? It's because the Fortamino tomato is really designed to have another tomato put on top of it. What it's gonna offer that lucky tomato that goes on top is more leaf cover to prevent sunscald, prevention against things like fusarium wilt, even more tomatoes per truss. So you're gonna get more yield out of the same tomato. So in this video, both Jacques and myself are gonna show you how we graft our tomatoes from simple to a little bit more complicated, and then exactly what to do afterwards so this little guy right here doesn't die the second you graft it. So let's get started with the grafting process. What you're going to need are a grafting rootstock tomato. We have the Fortamino tomato from Botanical Interest, our seed company, but you also need the tomato you want to graft. This is the one that you actually want to grow and you want to eat. In my case here, I have Cherokee Carbon. Kind of funny, that's already a hybridized heirloom tomato. Cherokee Purple is the classic heirloom. It's been crossed with Carbon to provide a more vigorous, a more resilient plant. But I figured, why not get even crazier and graft it onto something? So we're sort of looking at this mix of two plants then grafted onto a third tomato plant. So we're getting a little crazy here. Now, gear-wise, you can get away with something as simple as just one of these razors. Now, I'm gonna show you a piece of gear that I'm gonna use for the first example because it's very precise. So this is an actual tomato grafting tool set. We'll put a link on where to get these in the description. You've got these little stakes, and then you've got this clip. This clip is what's going to actually make sure that those grafts are held together at the graft point. That's really all you need. Again, you could get away with a little bit of grafting tape and just a razor. So, how do you actually do this? There are two primary styles of grafting. I'm gonna show you the first one. Jacques' gonna show you the second one. The first one is a top graft, and what you're doing is you're cutting the top off of the one you want to grow at a very specific angle, which you'll see, and grafting it at the same angle. This right here is the one I want to graft, and I also have the Fortamino rootstock I want to graft too. It doesn't really matter which one I cut first. What does matter though is that the stem diameter is pretty much the exact same, as well as the cut angle is the exact same. That's where this particular tool is kind of nice, because you've got this razor here to make a nice clean cut, but you also have this little channel here that keeps the stem at a consistent angle. So I'm cutting at about a 60-degree angle both times. Again, you could eyeball this too. I'm just gonna show you the tool because honestly, I love these tools. It's really handy to use. So what I wanna do is decide, am I gonna go below the seed leaves here, or am I gonna go above? In my case right here, I wanna go below because I need to match the stem width. And in this case, it's a little thicker down here. I'm gonna match it to about right there. Step one, we're gonna come in with our tool. We're gonna match the tomato stem into this little cutting channel here. I'm gonna go low because I want that width on the stem. And then the painful part, quick clip. So I have this beautiful, clean angle right here, exactly what I want. No blemishes, perfectly clean. We're gonna bring forward our rootstock tomato. What I'm gonna do here is try to match. It's roughly about there or so. And I'll describe a problem that you're gonna run into here in a second, but I'm gonna go for the cut. There we go. Now in this case, I didn't perfectly match these, but I think I'm still gonna be okay. So what I wanna do now is I'm gonna grab this little clip, this little attachment clip, and I'm gonna slide in the top into this clip right here. And then what I wanna do is come on this side and perfectly match this to that cut. So there you go. You can tell by the color difference that I've made that graft. And then the nice thing about these particular clips is you've got this little popsicle stick I can throw down here to adhere it and make it go straight up like that. Something interesting about this particular graft, I could have even improved on this further, is you'll notice I actually have 2 sets of seed leaves, which means that in this section right here, I have the potential for the rootstock tomato to throw out suckers, right? So you're gonna need to watch that graft point. Below the graft point, you wanna remove 100% of the suckers, otherwise you're gonna get tomatoes off of the Fortamino rootstock. So if anything below here to remove, right here and above, I'm gonna be fine. But I still, for tomato pruning reasons, may want to remove those suckers. So I'm gonna do one more. If you wanna do a graft that avoids the problem I just mentioned, it's actually really easy and solved by just knowing a little bit of the plant's anatomy. So I'm gonna come in right here and come below those seed leaves, as you can see, same angle. So now I have the seed leaves of this plant, which is very similar to what I did before. The only difference here is on this particular rootstock, I'm gonna go also below the seed leaves. So I avoid that problem altogether. So I wanna come in just like that. So I'm using almost none of the top growth here. I'm gonna use the same technique right here. I'm slotting this in just like that, and I'm meeting it just like that. So it's low, but trust me, it is slotted in absolutely perfectly. Those angles matched up very well, even better than my last graft. And then you want to just come in again and throw down your stake to keep these nice and steady. So there I go, and I don't have to worry now about anything from the rootstock sprouting up because I only have seed leaves from my top grafted tomato. What if you have tomatoes that are a little bit older like this? Well, you can still graft them and you may want to use a different technique. So these actually aren't my tomatoes, these are Jacques' tomatoes, and he's going to show you how to do what's called a cleft graft using more basic tools like a standard razor and some stuff that you can find at home.
As Kevin mentioned, once you get bigger tomatoes, you're going to want to try a different graft like the cleft graft. Now, this is an interesting one because you're basically just going to jam the scion into the rootstock. So let's take a look at the Fortamino rootstock first. These are mine right now. They're quite big, and honestly, everything should have been planted probably a week ago. So let's see if we could still make this work. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to work at this size, but I'm definitely willing to try. So in this case, we're going to be using just the razor blade and nothing else really. So to start it off, I guess I'll just kind of choose one of these. Might as well be this guy up here. I want this nice straight portion here. So I'm going to come right here and just literally take a straight cut across. There we go. So that's going to be where we're actually grafting onto. Now, the way that the cleft works is that what I'm going to do now is take my knife and go straight down the middle, a little less than ½ inch there. So now I have created a sort of wedge point where I could put my scion into it. So I'm going to go with this one here, which is the Omar's Lebanese. This is a tomato that I really quite enjoy eating. It is a classic heirloom, so it doesn't produce very much. And so this year I'm hoping I'll get more out of it by grafting it. Now, I do want to find a section of the stem that is about the same thickness. Now, the nice thing about this graft is that, let's say I'm trying to match this height. I don't have to come to the base of the tomato plant. I could just work my way up until I get a similar diameter. So in this case, on this tomato, I'm going to just decapitate it right here. And now the cool thing is, I could still keep the original scion, and this will actually still grow and just produce a leader off of this notch right here. And that's going to be another tomato for me. So I'm not actually losing anything with this graft. So then the next thing I'm going to do is take off some of these leaves like that. Just because any extra leaf that I leave on there is an extra leaf that the plant has to support. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird. This is where we're going to carve this tomato into basically a flathead screwdriver shape. So what I'm going to do is take my blade and try to just take a slice off like so. Come on the other side. And now I think that's too sharp, so I want to make that a little bit of a longer sort of point. So there we go. So now I have this like sort of screwdriver bit looking section here. So now I'm going to take the scion, try to ease it right into that notch, just like that. So that actually looks pretty convincing to me. And I don't know if these clips are going to be the right size, but I'm going to go ahead and try anyway. And actually, that does do something. So that's an option right there, is you can use that clip to sort of keep it together. But I want to also try doing it with something like a piece of clear grafting tape, or this is like something that you would use to tie your plants. So let's try doing one more, and we'll see if we could do a cleaner matchup here. And now the next tomato I'm going to graft here is the Delicious Hunt. This is the tomato that I actually got a 3-pound tomato off of. So why not try to actually make it even better by putting it on a nice rootstock. Give it a chop, come back down, take these leaves off, and this time I'm gonna lay it down here so I could try to get this cut a little bit more carefully. There we go, got a decent cut there, and slide it right in. All right, now I'm gonna grab my tape. It's not gonna look pretty, but the idea is that I just want it to keep the moisture in. And so even if it's loose, it's still going to be keeping that moisture in and keeping that graft contact tight. All right, so there's 2 cleft grafts. We'll see if it works. I don't know if it works at this size tomato, but now we need to talk about how to actually heal these grafts once you've completed them.
Now that you know how to graft in a variety of different ways, it's really important to know what to do after you graft. In fact, I would almost say it's more important because at this point is really the point most of us are going to kill our grafts. Ask me how I know. I've done it a million times, specifically in my orchard. So at this point, we're gonna need some kind of humidity dome. Because we're using our Epic 4 cells, we're just gonna use our 4-cell domes. I'm gonna have a humidity little sprayer here. I'm gonna blast the inside. I'm gonna blast the plants themselves. You need to keep humidity at this point above 90%, nearly at 100. And so I'm just gonna kind of tease my plants in here, be very sensitive. You can see they're already wanting to wilt. This is why this is so important, because they're effectively completely severed from their root system until such point that they actually do take that graft, and then nutrients can actually transport through the fused grafting point as well as water. And so that's why the humidity is so important. It's much like taking a cutting, and in that same vein, at the graft point, you might even start to see what are called adventitious roots come out. That is what happens specifically even with something like tomatoes. You'll start to see roots come out. It's why they're so easy to propagate. So the next thing you need is darkness. In my case, what I'm gonna do is throw this on the bottom of my greenhouse, cover it with something like shade cloth. I want it in the greenhouse because I want 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit with that 90% humidity. Now, as it starts to set and that graft starts to fuse together, you can actually take the tip off here a little bit, let a little bit of that humidity out, maybe remove the shade cloth, but keep it in filtered sun or shade. And then eventually, maybe at the 5 to 7 to 8, 9 day mark, you can remove this, take a look at how they're doing. If they're wilting, increase the humidity. If they're stretching, increase the light. And there you go. At that point, it's gonna be time to plant. A few weeks ago, we did our first graft here at Epic Gardening, and I'm happy to say that it took like a charm. You can see it right here. This is the rootstock, this is the top, and you can even see some roots forming here, which is a good sign that the graft is taken, as well as the fact that it is just very fused. I could sort of pull up on the top here, and it is not removing itself from the rootstock. But it's at this point, my friends, where you can really mess up. You've spent all the time to graft this tomato, the TLC, to make sure that this is done right. And if you plant it like you often see tomatoes recommended to be planted, which is burying it really deep, you can just completely negate all the work that you did. Why? Well, what do you want to grow? The rootstock. If you planted it up to here, then you're actually going to be growing adventitious roots out of the top, which is what you don't want. And so when you're taking this out into the ground, just plant it right here. Don't bury it, don't sink it down, don't clip leaves off, just plant it exactly as it is. And if it's a little tall, just use a support to hold it up. Tomato grafting is super fun. It's a little more complex. You'll see over the course of our growing season here how ours have done. And if you're curious what to do after this point, there's a lot of tomato care that's yet to come, especially pruning. So check out our pruning guide. It is the ultimate tomato pruning guide right here. Shop our seeds. The Fortamino rootstock, for example, is available at botanicalinterests.com. Good luck in the garden and keep on growing.